Welcome to Storytime with ZDM. I am young adult fiction author Zachary Delano Middleton, and I'll be reading different excerpts. I've read some different excerpts from the book Running After Delano, but I also wanted to introduce two series that I'll be working on right now. They're running concurrently, and this series will be the third one. So Running After Delano was one. We're going to have another book called Rashard Freeman, Teenage Entrepreneur. That's the second one. And the third one will be this series called The Backstories of the Trampoline Academy. So far, I would say that this is probably, I would say Running After Delano is the most important thing I've ever written, right? But The Backstories of the Trampoline Academy is fun. It's an enjoyable story, and just a little bit of backstory there. One of the reasons why I was influenced to write it, several different reasons, right? Growing up as kids, one of the things that my mom, she made sure that we interacted with, there was a radio broadcast called Adventures in Odyssey. My mom was Linda Middleton, just for record. But it's a radio broadcast called Adventures in Odyssey that was themed out of the Chronicles of Narnia, but set into kind of a middle America scenario. I think Focus on the Family did it. And as brilliant and as innovative, and how it stirred the soul and imagination, one of the things that was really glaring, and I think later on they tried to make some changes, was the fact that a lot of the characters that were displayed were of European heritage. They were not African Americans or minority candidates and things like that. And so over time they've tried to make some changes and concessions. But I thought it'd be really interesting is if we had that type of adventure type of story and set it in the inner city and set it in a different type of ethnic diversity that kind of would connect it. I thought that would be very significant. Also, Backstories of the Trampoline Academy, the name, that comes from one of the books that was very memorable as a kid. There was a book called Sideways Stories from Wayside School. And it stuck, it resonated. And so I thought that was really interesting. And you're probably wondering why the name Trampoline? What's that all about? And so I can show you better than I can tell you. So this is chapter 1 of the Backstories of the Trampoline Academy. And the title of this book, or the subtitle of this book, is called The Drawing Board. All right. And I'll just say, just for the record, the reason it's called The Drawing Board is because the entire theme is about control. All right. Chapter 1. Excuse me, sir. A young lady in the middle of the group waved her hand. She shouted to be heard over the traffic that rode down the neighboring inner city street. I don't mean no harm. What did you say your name was? Mr. Washington. Mr. Washington? What exactly is the Trampoline Academy? She pondered aloud. Will we be going to a trampoline park? Are we going to teach us how to do flips? What is the Trampoline Academy? She squinted as she used her shoulders to emphasize her points. Young lady, that's a great question, responded the man holding the clipboard in front of the group of concerned parents and aspiring 7th graders. The 95-degree heat beat down on their yellow construction hard hats. I haven't gotten to the attendance roll yet. What's your name, ma'am? The 40-something-year-old Washington asked the middle schooler. I am LaQuandra Johnson, but everyone just calls me Quan. Oh, well, I'll call you Mrs. Johnson. Well, the Trampoline Academy is a metaphor. Can any of you young people tell me what is a metaphor? He said as he surveyed the group for responses. Oh, I think I know what a metaphor is. A young man in the group with a yellow shirt, khaki slacks, and a pair of old but maintained penny loafers raised his hand. So back in the day, during olden times, there was this basketball player who changed his name from Ron Artest to Meta World Peace. I don't know this for sure, but I'm gonna guess that his 4th shoes on the market were called Metaphors, he said as he crossed his hand over his chest with a look of accomplishment. A young man who stood next to him with almost the exact same face froze upon hearing his brother's response. While he looked like the other kid that answered, he wore a simple white shirt and blue jeans. Prior to his twin talking, he had been glued to the video game that he was playing on his cell phone. Looking up from his mobile device with a raised eyebrow and a look of awed embarrassment, he shook his head. He belted loud enough for his twin to hear him, but not to draw attention from the group. Boy, if you don't hush. Mr. Washington gave a brief and said, that's not quite what we're looking for, but good try, sir. And your name is, he says, he looked down at his clipboard in an effort to match the speaker with the name of his roster. I am Jameer Banks, and this is my twin brother, Jamal, he said, as he gestured toward his brother. Jamal looked up from his smartphone to quickly wave his hand and abruptly return to his machine. Yeah, Mr. Washington, everybody here just calls us Twin. I'm Art Twin, and this is Tech Twin. Okay, thanks, Jameer and Jamal. Got it. He says he checked the names off the clipboard. Would anyone else like to try? What is a metaphor? I feel like I'm teaching again, he stated as he checked his hands again. Oh, yes, the young lady in the front. Yes, by the way, my name is Sophia Lee. I am present, and just for the record, I was the first person here. I mean, I know that doesn't matter, but just for the record. My mother says that success starts with setting your alarm clock 1 hour earlier. But yes, a metaphor, I believe, is what I saw at the Mae Jemison Museum of Nature and Science. My mother and her husband, Su Chan, took me there, and we saw many exhibits. If I can recall, one exhibit that we saw focused on the planets and the stars. A metaphor, Mr. Washington, is a streak of light that flashes across the sky. Oh, another good try. However, I'm sorry, that's actually a meteor. I want to know, what is a metaphor? The young lady gritted her teeth with a look of displeasure when she was corrected. No need to be embarrassed. I would rather that you try to get the answer and fail and than to not try at all. Just don't quit. That is something else that you'll hear over and over and over again here at the Trampoline Academy. The leader reassured Sophia. All right, guys. What is a metaphor? Ah, yes, Miss Johnson, your hand is raised again. What is a metaphor? Mr. Washington, I know what a metaphor is. We had that in my English class last year. A simile is a way of comparing two things while using like or as, but a metaphor compares two things without using like or as. I know English. Now math, that's a different story, she said with a chuckle. I can relate. I was the same way in school. And yes, Miss Johnson, that is the correct way to use the term metaphor. I knew that. I just got the terms confused, interjected Sophia. Mr. Washington continued, the trampoline in the title Trampoline Academy is a metaphor. The trampoline is being compared to a support system. As a real trampoline has a support system of springs that continues to catch you and relaunch you in the air, I want this program to catch and relaunch you as you seek to pursue your dreams in life. Dad raised the hand of the 12-year-old that looked like a miniature version of Mr. Washington. Yes, son, some of you all know this is my boy, he said as he looked in some direction. Well, Dad, I just wanted to say you got it wrong. What? But what are you talking about? How did I get my own idea wrong? No, not the idea. You said it's a metaphor. It's actually a simile. When you said, as a real trampoline has a support system of springs, that's a simile, not a metaphor. You got it wrong. Okay, Will J., you got me. The Trampoline Academy is a simile. Willie Washington Sr. says he laughed and offered a reluctant double wave of surrender. He turned to the right, looked at the direction of the only other person that wore the same yellow Trampoline Academy t-shirt. The t-shirt had blue lettering and logo outline. The logo displayed a sneaker about to step on the trampoline. The letters on the t-shirt read, the Trampoline Academy. Under the logo read the words, we put a spring in the step of dreamwalkers. Hey, babe, do you believe this? My own flesh and blood. She leaned her head to the right, pursed her lips together and said, well, he is right. And babe, you got a little ash there, she said. She pointed to his knuckles. She reached in her pockets and splashed his cupped hands with a squirt of cocoa butter. Mr. Washington playfully opened his mouth and said, you too? Wow, I see how y'all do, she said as he casually rubbed his knuckles and wrists with the lotion from his wife. Okay, so in either case, we want to provide you guys with a support system as you get ready to go into your high school years. This group of 10 students will be our inaugural class. Behind me is the building that we hope we will have completed this time next year. What is this, Memorial Day weekend? So not this Juneteenth, but next Juneteenth, we should be able to hold our ribbon cutting ceremony on this multi-million-dollar community center, which is being built right behind me by contractors from this very community, he said as he pointed in the direction of the construction. One of the hands of the adults lifted up in response to Mr. Washington's words. Yes, ma'am, he acknowledged. Yes, my name is Tamika Jackson, and I am the legal guardian of Harriet. She said as she looked to the young lady that stood right in front of her. The young lady held her head down and scrunched her shoulders as her mother figure spoke. Say hello, she said. Say hello, Harriet, she prodded. Say hello. Harriet mumbled. As you can see, she's a little shy. But yes, I'm a grant writer. Let me see how I can say this without sounding... She paused to collect her thoughts. So I have written grants throughout Urbano, Texas. From right here in the majestic No Rain. She opened her hand to emphasize her underdeveloped surroundings. All throughout suburbia, in Los Crystal, in Uptown. Right now I'm doing some work in the push-outs. Multi-million-dollar grants, you name it. I'm just curious. This Trampoline Academy sounds like a great idea, but how will y'all get the money to finance this support system simile, as you call it? She questioned as her eyebrows furrowed and her shoulders leaned in for his response. Before Mr. Washington could respond, a loud, black yet clean Cadillac Escalade darted in the direction of the people. The driver appeared to identify the group and proceeded to drive off-road onto the sidewalk and onto the grass toward the gathering. As the body of the truck bopped up and down, the speakers blared, boom, 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 boom. The sports utility vehicle slowed down and came to a stop at the street near the group. The passenger side door was closest to the onlookers. Out of the back of the vehicle jumped a young man that seemed like he could be a classmate of the students in attendance. He wore a Chicago Bulls hoodie, and his disposition matched that of the team logo of his on his clothing. The front passenger door did not open. However, the window rolled down slightly to reveal the partial profile of a woman with sunglasses who remained in the car. The driver's side door opened, and the large vehicle bounced up and down when the man driving got out. Mr. Washington looked back in the direction of Tamika Jackson and said, "Funny you should ask. Our funding source has just arrived." And that's the first chapter of the Backstories of the Trampoline Academy. And that is about the drawing board. That's the first book. They call it the drawing board. And so I'm really excited about that series, where it's going to go. And the bigger theme with it is reimagine career development in a reimagined world. Reimagine career development in a reimagined world. And you'll see a lot of different ways. And other influences, I didn't say this earlier, but I don't, of course, endorse the work of Bill Cosby, but I think different world. I think of works like Fresh Prince. I think of Cosby Show and things like that. Those also were a big part of our childhood as well. And when I think of different world, there were all these different stories that existed that kind of moved towards one goal. And so I thought that was definitely very influential as well. And so that's what I want to do with the Trampoline Academy. I want to introduce a lot of different jobs, careers. If you probably heard me say before in terms of our vision cast, with Grace to Cultivate, our goal is to reimagine work. Reimagine work where we're not just surviving but thriving, and so that's a through line with everything that I write and everything that's connected with our brand. Is how can we help specifically the next generation reimagine work in a way that we're not just working harder but also working smarter in terms of holistic development and as it pertains to vocation and career. And so that's a big part of what we do, and one of those will be the Backstories of the Trampoline Academy. And so, as I always say, because this is not out yet, so you won't be able to purchase this. You can purchase Running After Delano, and it's in Running After Delano, the first chapter. So feel free to do that. But you can go to Goodreads or Yahoo, and I'll put the links up. And if you just interact with him, any type of comments, those things help us tremendously. And just share and just get ready for. Preferably, we'll have it when we launch, and when that book will be ready. Hopefully, that's book number 3 that will come out. And you'd be ready to make a purchase. So I appreciate your time, and thank you so much. Have a good one. Hello, my name is Zachary Delano Middleton, and I want to introduce you to one of the first products from Grace to Cultivate, LLC. It's called 12 Ways That School Matters in Real Life. If you ever been talking to young people, challenging them from a scholastic perspective, one of the things that they will always say is, how will this affect me in real life? Which is a very valid question. And so what I wanted to do, I wanted to cast vision through a poster that will be targeted towards parents and educators that can help them cast vision. We're not saying school is the end-all be-all, by no means, right? But you have to be in school for a certain amount of time. How do you leverage that for your professional journey? And so, and also this will not be in a frame. It won't come to you in a frame. It'll just come with the poster. But it says, being on time for class develops a routine of being on time for work functions. Relationships with teachers, administrators, and school staff prepare you for the organizational chart. Math develops problem solving and money management skills that can translate into any career. English and language arts helps us communicate and interpret thoughts, ideas, and plans with clarity. Science allows us to ask better and more informed questions. Social studies helps us interact with opportunities that exist beyond our backyard. Physical education helps establish healthy rhythms of physical wellness that, if maintained, can extend into a flourishing adulthood. Art and music have the ability to stir the soul and the imagination and leave a timeless imprint on its audience. Technology is the cultivation of thoughts, ideas in order to make a better world. Relationships with other students prepare the student for workplace dynamics, i.e. conflict resolution, networking, and team building. Homework is the tool of the lifelong learner, and graduation is a reminder that a person can persevere to finish a task that he or she started. And this is a poster, but it'll also be an outline. I'm also a motivational speaker. And what I do is I'll go into different schools, organizations, and we'll take this outline. And from the outline, we'll teach kids everything from literacy. I have a young adult fiction book that I've written. We're going to do literacy. We're going to talk about creativity as it pertains to entrepreneurship, connecting the dots to school and professional life. And last but not least, we're going to also involve note-taking strategies, unique creative note-taking strategies that will help them pass this particular time in school. But I want you to say yes to the 12 ways that school matters in real life. YES. Why? Make it yours for $20 plus tax. It really helps you, but it also will power our economic motor with Grace Cultivate LLC. E. Express your comments and opinions in the post. And last but not least, share it. It's a poster, but it's also a meme. Just putting it on your timeline doesn't take anything. Just a reshare would help us tremendously. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And I do believe that there's grace to cultivate.